In Konoha the opening game plays as Jikuni Yuanichi Chapter 476-500. Chapter 476 The group looked at Hitaki Kusuo and laughed again. Ha 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 ha, really, this person is so weak, and now he has run to our company to cause trouble. Yo yo, isn't this Bulma, what's going on? You can't sit still, really, your company just needs to give me the secrets, is this okay? But for some things, I really don't know what to say to you. You didn't even find someone to fight with, but just found such a person without a body, what are you really thinking? Although I won't do anything to you, Bulma, but this person hurt my people, so it's okay for us to teach him a lesson. Then he took out a cigar and lit it. Clapped his hands, and then a person came out from behind. This person looks very majestic, and the aura means that this person can really defeat some very powerful masters. Because Hitaki Kusuo actually found another person to feel the aura, at least he is a master with a combat power of 30 like Dao Peibai. But such a person is no different from an ant in the eyes of Kusuo Hitaki. Then he said sarcastically, ha 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 ha, you made me laugh to death. Who am I supporting since he is such a rubbish? This boss, you really want to find a decent thug. With a mere 30 combat power, he is just a bastard. The boss saw that Kusuo Hitaki was actually laughing at him, and then he said angrily, what are you talking about? Lushishi is the champion of the last martial arts tournament. What are you talking about? The champion of the world's #1 martial arts tournament. It's normal that you haven't heard of it. You don't know how terrifying Lushishi is. He is not as rubbish as you think. He can shoot bullets with his bare hands, and you look down on him, then you are dead. At this time, the huge man behind the boss stood up and looked at Hitaki Kusuo and said, I thought it was something, but it looked down on me. I can't kill you with one slap, but you are shouting at me here. You may not know how terrifying I am, right? Then let me, Lushishi, teach you a lesson today. The people around him also started laughing, and Bulma couldn't stand it anymore. Looked at the boss and said, you really haven't seen the world. He can kill you with a fart. Forget it, I originally said that I could watch a good show today, but you, Lushishi, are not as good as that old pervert, and you are actually driven out to be a thug. Hitaki Kusuo, kill him for me. Okay. As soon as Bulma's voice fell, Kusuo Hitaki used the Mangekyo Sharingan. This is Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan, which can release Amaterasu and Tsukushi. For this kind of person, there is no need to do anything anymore, otherwise, the scene is too cruel, and this is not what he wants to see at all. Then he smiled and said, then let you taste the horror, hehe, Tsukushi. Chapter 477. Lushishi was just thinking about preparing to take action, but was directly controlled by a mysterious force. At this time, he saw a strong man with combat power and destructive power that he could not imagine. All the people here, except the boss, were hit by the Tsukuyomi. Bulma was not very clear and asked, Suo Hitaki, what's wrong with them now, they all look problematic. We also know, but if this happens, will something go wrong? Of course I know, don't kill people, otherwise it will be very troublesome. Hitaki Kusuo knew, of course, this is the use of Tsukuyomi, otherwise, he must have used Amaterasu. Then he said slowly, they were trapped in my illusion, and they have spent more than 10 years in my world. If this goes on, their spirits can't support it at all, so you can rest assured to get better. Of course they can't die, you can rest assured about this. Bulma breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they don't die. It's easy to say, even if they become idiots, as long as they don't die, the police will not pursue anything. Because of this matter, the boss was dumbfounded, and didn't know what Hitaki Kusuo had done. What did you do to them? Are you a monster? Hey, wake up quickly, Lushishi, what's wrong with you? But no one answered the boss. The boss was also anxious at this time, and then he said fiercely, hehe, do you think you can scare me like this? This is simply impossible. Come on, surround them and get rid of him here today. As for Bulma, you must be careful. Don't hurt her, otherwise, you will be finished. Everyone seemed to listen to the boss's words and did not refute him. Then he slowly said, okay, I know. Little guys, beat this man into a gag. Hehe. But at the moment they fired, Kusuo Hitaki used the monthly again. 0 Please give me flowers. Then those people became the same as before. Their expressions became dull, and the boss couldn't wake them up no matter how he called them. After a while, those who were controlled by the illusion woke up and screamed when they saw the boss. I don't dare to do it anymore. It's too scary. I don't dare to do it anymore. Then he knelt down to Kusuo Hitaki, making the boss confused. He shouted. What's wrong with you? All of you get up. I'm really convinced. What are you doing? But at this moment, Kusuo Hitaki's eyes were already fixed on the boss. Then he said slowly, since you want to know what's wrong with them, why don't you try it yourself, hee. The devilishly deep voice made the boss numb. However, his eyes went dark and he saw a red terrifying picture. At this time, his consciousness was no longer his own, and he didn't know how long it had been. It was extremely quiet here, with only this terrifying red. Chapter 478. Is anyone here? Where is this place? Of course, no one responded to him. It was at this time that the boss realized what had happened to them. It is very likely that they were all under such a spell. I don't know how long it has been, but the boss is still there. There is no one, no sound, only himself, helpless, very helpless. Help. 973. But there was no way. Although some things had to be brought up, they were too terrible, and it was unclear how long this situation would last. Now he was already beginning to get scared. 1 year. Yes, he didn't feel hungry, nor did he feel any pain. But in this environment, he didn't know how long he had been there. He kept running, but this land seemed infinite, and no matter how he ran, he couldn't reach the end. Then he lay there motionless. It was also unknown how long it had been. His will began to collapse, and he hadn't used his brain for a long time. Because it was not necessary at all. If it went on like this, he would definitely die first. Then he slowly said, I was wrong. I was really wrong, bypass me. Hitaki Kusuo could of course hear it, and then he let go of the boss. The boss saw the light at the moment he woke up, and saw where Hitaki Kusuo was looking at him. He was stunned for a moment, then knelt down and said, we were wrong, we were really wrong. Of course, this matter ended with a perfect solution. Then he looked at Bulma and said slowly, you really are, they are like that, and you still got their secret out, and signed the contract by the way, and became your company, it's really good, Bulma. Bulma smiled and took the contract in her hand and said slowly, isn't this thanks to you? I didn't expect that you didn't kill them, but made them scared like that. I really doubt whether this is an attack of will. But there is no way to make things happen. Since I went there, I have to produce results, otherwise, I didn't go there in vain. 0. Hitaki Kusuo nodded, and returned home with Bulma. During this period, he accompanied Bulma and their parents for a long time. Of course, during this period, Kusuo Hitaki did nothing but accompany Bulma. Maybe Bulma knew that Kusuo Hitaki was going to leave soon. She fulfilled her girlfriend's obligations. In short, the two of them had a very happy time. Time passed very quickly. In such a day, time quickly reached the 10th day. At this time, Kusuo Hitaki must have gone to find Bulma's father first. Bulma's father seemed very satisfied with the spaceship and said slowly when he saw Kusuo Hitaki coming. Kusuo Hitaki, you came just in time. I have completely transformed this spaceship. It's just that there is no fuel. You have to think about this method. Also, the spaceship is now in perfect condition. I added a lot of entertainment things in it, such as bathing, playing, practicing, and so on. Chapter 479. Of course, there are still many things in it that I didn't add, because time is indeed a bit tight. But this is good. Of course, I can increase your gravity system by 200 times. But if you train like this, is it okay? I haven't seen Goku for many days. Is he still training? I heard from Bulma that you can be their master now. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. When I first saw you, I thought you were just a pretty boy. Hitaki Kusuo was speechless. Bulma's father was really not a good person. He said slowly. Since the design is complete, there is no hesitation. Goku and I are going to travel in the universe. Now I want to ask for your opinion. Bulma actually wants to go too. How many people can sit on your spaceship? I am very skeptical now. Bulma's father waved his hand and said, of course it can accommodate 10 people, so you can rest assured. This spaceship is originally a small spaceship for multiple people. I modified it into 2 floors because it was modified. Of course, 5 people are the best. Now, it depends on how you allocate them. Thank you, uncle. Then I will leave first. Hee hee. Bulma's father was shocked and said, "You are leaving now. Is Bulma going to go with you? Why didn't I see it? It's really strange." Hitaki Kusuo waved his hand and said, "No problem, I'll leave first." Then he entered the spaceship directly, because he really didn't have anything. Then he came to the main control room and found that this thing seemed to use the language of the Namekians, but since it was modified, it was definitely not needed. Then he said slowly, "The spaceship will go to the Palace of God first." "Yes, Master, go to the Palace of God, start the planetary speed mode, and the time is estimated to be 10 seconds. Hitaki Kusuo was very shocked. This spaceship was really good. It only took 10 seconds. At this moment, they flew to the Palace of God. At this time, it seemed that Goku and Piccolo still didn't come out. He saw the gods somewhere and didn't know what they were heading for. He looked at Kusuo Hitaki and then at the spaceship and said slowly, "This is the spaceship I came to Earth on. I didn't expect it to become like this now. But since I'm going out, my mission should be over. Kusuo Hitaki, this world is still very big. Of course, I want to go out for a walk. If I don't go out, I will never know how huge this universe is." Kusuo Hitaki certainly knew why the gods said this to him. Because he immediately said that he would merge with Piccolo, of course there would be a lot of extra feelings. Kusuo Hitaki actually knew this. Then he looked at the room of spiritual time. It seems that the 2 of them are going to come out, so I'm ready. Bobo said, crying on the side. Chapter 480. God, are you really leaving? I can't bear to leave you. If there are no gods on this planet, what should we do? The god shook his head and said, "Pico is me, I am Piccolo, we are one person, and one person must have a kind side and a devilish side. So when we merge, we are one person, a complete Namekian. That's when I was me. Although we are 2 consciousnesses now, I know that we are both incomplete. Popo, after I leave, this palace will be handed over to you. I know you are reluctant to leave me, and I am actually reluctant to leave you too. But I want to go to the more distant outer space. I want to see my hometown. Do you know this? I know. If you understand my feelings, then you will also know why I agreed to assimilate." Popo nodded and said, "God, I understand. When the time comes, I will ask Kusuo Hitaki to find a god. Please." "Of course, God, have you really thought about it?" "In fact, I haven't thought about this matter. Because I said that if you merge, you will gain powerful power, but if you don't merge, I still have a way to make both of you stronger." The god shook his head and said, "That's not necessary. I have thought it through. The 2 of us are originally one person. Now I just need to recover. My consciousness will not disappear. Pico's consciousness will not disappear either. We will be powerful warriors from now on. Of course, in this case, our strength can be raised to a very high level again." Kusuo Hitaki nodded. The god saw it clearly. He is worthy of being a god. Then he looked at the spiritual time room. At this time, the door was already open. 2 forces that wanted to fight appeared in front of Kusuo Hitaki. "Yo, Kusuo Hitaki, I didn't expect you to arrive so quickly. However, thanks to your guidance, Piccolo and I can become so powerful so quickly." Kusuo Hitaki then looked at the 2 of them. Son Goku, combat power, 10,000. Pico, combat power, 10,000. Our combat power is about 10,000 now, and Piccolo has also learned the triple Kaioken, and I have also learned the spirit bullet suit. So, we are both very powerful now. Kusuo Hitaki nodded slightly. The strength of the 2 people is indeed improving rapidly. So now his combat power is actually only about 20,000, and they are already about the same as himself. It is already very remarkable. Kusuo Hitaki looked at the immortal and then at Piccolo and said slowly, "If that's the case, Piccolo, you and the immortal can already assimilate." But at this time Piccolo shook his head and said, "This earth needs the immortal now, not me. Even if I don't assimilate with him, I can still become powerful. So I don't need it. It's better not to have such power." Kusuo Hitaki smiled. Chapter 481. Although Piccolo's words are not wrong at all, it's because Piccolo is no longer under any pressure. Because he already feels that he has become invincible, but this is just the beginning, Piccolo, by then, you will know how big this world is. How vast it is, or how powerful the enemies are, but if you do this, you are really doing a great job. You must believe that there is no limit to yourself. After all, he is a Namekian, so he must have his own powerful secrets, which may have been lost, but Hitaki Kusuo can definitely find them. After all, he is the one who can create Dragon Balls, and he is the descendant of the Dragon God, so he must have very powerful power. Then he slowly said, since you have decided this way, then I don't need to say anything more. Goku, and Piccolo, if we pack up, we can set off. This time, we can bring a lot of people, although I don't know how you convince Chi-Chi, but Goku, I still suggest you take Gohan with you. After all, it's good to broaden your horizons, and other planets also have a lot of cultural heritage. Since you want to be a scholar, the more things you see, the better. Goku smiled and said, I definitely want Gohan to go, but I'm afraid Chi-Chi won't agree, and I have no choice. What did you do to Chi-Chi last time, Hitaki Kusuo? Before he finished speaking, he heard a familiar voice. Hitaki Kusuo, you really are, if you want to go to the universe, since you can take me with you, why didn't you tell me? When my dad told me, I was shocked. Can I really go? That is, he saw Bulma looking at the plane and coming here. Then he looked at Goku and said, Goku, you are here, talk to Hitaki Kusuo, I want to go too. Hitaki Kusuo was speechless. Why did he say those words? In fact, it was just to make the conversation with Bulma's father less awkward. But Bulma knew it, so the following things would be more difficult to complete. Then he said slowly, Bulma, that place is indeed a bit dangerous. Ha ha ha, you are so powerful, you must protect me, what did I say to be afraid of? And do you think I don't know your strength? Goku already has more than 10,000 combat power. I already knew it when he exploded just now. So I must go this time. Hitaki Kusuo thought about it and it didn't matter if he was there. Since it was a training, of course Hitaki Kusuo also thought about not just practicing. It's no problem to travel around this world for only 3 years. Then he said. If that's the case, why don't we all go together? I'll go and bring back Krillin and the others. You go find Master Roshi and Ranchi. Since I'm the one in charge, wouldn't it be fun for us to go together? And Piccolo, you should get closer to these people. After all, you've been on Earth for so many years. Chapter 482. At this time, Kusuo Hitaki already had a wonderful idea, and he felt a little happy looking at this group of people. In fact, he himself didn't know what he should do now. These people had nothing to do with him, but now they have a close relationship. Especially Bulma, he couldn't just leave Bulma alone, which was the problem that Kusuo Hitaki was worried about now. When he just came to this world, he felt that he might be alone, and now it seems that he is alone. However, these people in front of him were also recognized by him just now, and there would be no problem if he got close to them. Looking at Bulma, he slowly said, since you are going to the universe with me, I have no reason not to let you go now. Of course, if I don't let you go, you will definitely be unhappy. As I said just now, it would be better if you call your friends. Hee. Bulma couldn't believe that the current Kusuo Hitaki actually asked him to take all the people with him. Didn't he know that it would be a lot of trouble to take these people with him? But the feeling that Kusuo Hitaki gave her now was different from before. The previous Kusuo Hitaki was not like this. Looking at Kusuo Hitaki, he slowly said, if this is the case, then I understand. I will go and call people now. Goku scratched his head and said slowly, Suo Hitaki, are you really going to take Krillin and Master Roshi with you? Can we really go on a trip together? It's really exciting to think about it now. Pico is worthy of being the incarnation of God. He is the one who brought up this matter after all. Looking at a group of happy people, he slowly said, Suo Hitaki, when we all go to the universe, what if the Saiyans come to Earth a year later and can't find us and destroy everything? I don't want this to happen. At least, I am also a part of God. Goku and Kusuo Hitaki looked at Piccolo in surprise. What the hell is Piccolo talking about? Doesn't he know that what he said is very important? Zero, please give me flowers. Still talking here, when will Piccolo worry about the life and death of the people on Earth? Is he dreaming? But what Piccolo said is still vivid in my mind, which means that I am not dreaming. It is not possible that this person has changed from the beginning, and this time it is not Gohan who changed Piccolo, but myself. Because I told Piccolo a lot of things about the universe, it seems that I have inadvertently broadened Piccolo's horizons and made him no longer limited to one Earth. On the contrary, the Earth is still his hometown. Once people have a common enemy, they are likely to become friends. Now Kusuo Hitaki Shang believed this. Then he said slowly, Pico, you don't have to worry about this, because it will never happen. We will return to Earth in advance. If we can't keep up, I will use my ability to teleport you back. Pico was stunned and said to himself. Chapter 483. Is it the power of teleportation? I know how powerful that power is. Do you really want to use that power? Hitaki Kusuo nodded and then said slowly, you don't have to worry about this. I will definitely do it for you. Don't worry about this. I won't explain some things in detail. As the saying goes, those who understand will understand. Let's not continue to discuss this topic. Pico now listens to Hitaki Kusuo, because Hitaki Kusuo is now like a teacher, always caring about them. Actually, Piccolo can still distinguish this, but some things can be known as long as people take a look. For example, Sun Wukong now knows that Kusuo Hitaki is a good person. Kusuo Hitaki looked at Goku and Piccolo and said slowly, if that's the case, Goku, you want to see King Kai, then let's go to King Kai's planet. Let's go and Krillin and the others will pick them up. Also, I will ask for their opinions. If someone doesn't go, it's not my fault. Do you understand what I mean? Goku and Piccolo certainly know what Kusuo Hitaki means now. Then he said slowly, of course we know, but for some things, we still have to go and see. Hee, Piccolo, are you going to King Kai? Piccolo shook his head and said slowly, I'd better not go, because there are some things that are useless for me to go. Besides, King Kai doesn't want to see me, but Son, so I won't get involved. Kusuo Hitaki nodded. Is Piccolo really the great demon King Piccolo now? But he didn't know that Piccolo had already regarded him as a very good master. After all, he had told him so many things, and there was no way he could say anything more. Besides, he already knew that there were so many strong people in the universe, and he himself was also a strong warrior, so he must be eager to fight against a stronger opponent. Compared to making himself stronger, Piccolo definitely didn't want to conquer a small universe zero. Because it was meaningless. Of course, Hitaki Kusuo had already guessed this. Since Piccolo could be honest, let him, Goku, and Vegeta become stronger together. Then he smiled and said, then Goku, let's go to King Kai. Goku nodded immediately. He had said this many times. After all, he was going to meet a strong man who wanted to see him, so he still had to get to know him well. I'm ready, so how do we get to that place? Of course, you just need to follow me. It's a matter of no burden at all. Goku, just come and hold me tight. Goku now believes what Hitaki Kusuo said, and then he approaches Hitaki Kusuo and speaks slowly. Is that it? Kamiu. After Hitaki Kusuo's voice fell, he left here in a flash. Then he saw a very small planet. Chapter 484. Goku felt that he had arrived at this place in an instant. Looking around, he found out why this place was so small. And he could see Krillin, Tenjohan and other dead people at a glance. Then he called slowly, Krillin, Krillin, I'm here to see you, hee. Krillin looked at the source of the voice and it turned out to be Goku, and then he said excitedly, Goku, why are you here? It's Goku, what are you doing here? Goku, Goku. Everyone was talking at once, and at this time, a low voice interrupted their conversation. I only heard that voice slowly saying, if this is the case, then I also know that you are Sun Wukong, right? It's exactly the same as what I saw. There are not many people in this world who have a heart like you. You must be able to exert the true power of the spirit bomb. Goku looked at the source of the voice. It was a fat middle-aged weirdo. Then he thought of something and ran over to grab King Kai. You are King Kai, right? Hee, I finally see you. You are really amazing. Your King Kai fist is a magical skill. It is really useful. By the way, I heard from Hitaki Kusuo that the spirit bomb is actually yours. Is it true? You must be very amazing. Should we have a fight? King Kai is not a fool. In fact, he has sensed that Goku is not the same as he saw at that time. And Goku's change is actually what King Kai cares about the most. I can't figure out why Goku can become so powerful in such a short time. This is totally unreasonable. But now the facts of this matter are here, and King Kai can't help but believe it. Then he said slowly, Goku, you are already very close, I have nothing to help you, you just need to use my King Kai's fist well, and there is also the spirit bomb. Come to me often when you are free, hee. Of course, I know that King Kai is a good person, but how can I come here? It is impossible that I have asked Hitaki Kusuo to send me here every time. Hitaki Kusuo raised his eyebrows and then said slowly, Goku, you don't need to worry about this, because there is a race called the Helmer tribe in the universe. They have a lot of strange powers, such as teleportation, which is a very powerful move. As long as you can feel other people's energy, then you can teleport to that location instantly. Of course, I'm not exaggerating about some things. That kind of magic is still very dangerous, and we may not be able to find that planet. So, we still have to rely on the power of the Dragon Ball when we leave. Sun Wukong nodded, and then asked in confusion, what is teleportation? I'm really speechless, Wukong, didn't I tell you that if you learn that thing in the future? Have you felt King Kai's aura? I have already felt King Kai's aura, and it may be the same as mine. Chapter 485. But I know King Kai must be hiding his strength, right? King Kai blushed immediately, but didn't say much, but Hitaki Kusuo knew that King Kai was not a question of blushing or not. King Kai originally had that kind of strength, but he should be stronger than Vegeta, otherwise he would not be King Kai. Seeing King Kai not talking, Goku didn't plan to say anything more. King Kai looked at Kusuo Hitaki and said slowly, I know about Dragon Balls, but don't use them too much. Otherwise, something terrible will happen. Of course, I have heard of the legends of the world, but I don't know if it is true. Of course, I believe this possibility is true, but I really don't want to face it. I know the location of the planet you just mentioned, Kusuo Hitaki, and if you don't know, just send me a message. After all, I am also a King Kai, I can still do this. Kusuo Hitaki suddenly realized that he had forgotten that there was such a thing as King Kai, who is a living map. When the time comes, Kamui can just teleport over to ask, and then he smiled and looked at King Kai and said slowly. If that's the case, then I'll leave it to King Kai in the future. Goku hurriedly started to ask about business. That Krillin, I know that you have been practicing here. So what is your current combat power? We may go to the universe in the future, and Kusuo Hitaki said that some people can go. I just came to ask you what you think. Krillin looked at Kusuo Hitaki with a puzzled look and said slowly, what are you talking about? Aren't we still practicing now? Why do we have to go to the universe? Actually, I also want to go, but I know that I am no longer the same kind of person as you, and I know that I will just hold you back. This is actually what I think in my heart. I'm telling you now, but I don't know if you know it. Krillin is of course clear. At this moment, Krillin is actually a very self-aware person. However, because others haven't said anything yet, Kusuo Hitaki still has to ask for others' opinions. In this way, the person who will go to the universe this time can be determined. Kusuo Hitaki is a man who knows the current situation and is also a person who considers things very carefully. Then he said slowly, if that's the case, then I understand it. What do you think, Yinsha and the others? I feel that we can also train in the universe. The four people knew very well how weak they were now and said immediately. Of course we want to go there, but our strength is too weak, we know this. Going there will cause trouble for you, and we may not get a good training, so we would rather stay on King Kai. And didn't Kusuo Hatake say it? Chapter 486. The Saiyan will be handed over to us. So, we are also self-aware, and those monsters in the universe are not something we can contend with. And I'm making rapid progress here, I know that too. Although there are sometimes bottlenecks, King Kai can be very serious. Teach us. I am really touched now. Hatake Kusuo nodded. He probably knew what was going on with these people. From now on, they are actually living very well here, excluding the possibility that they may not have face. Since you have already decided, I have nothing to say. Since you have decided, I can't say anything more. Everyone nodded. Goku looked at Krillin and said slowly, Krillin, have you really decided? Do you really want to stay here? Let me sense your fighting power now, hee. Ah, Krillin, you are really amazing. You have a fighting power of 3000 now. It has surpassed the Saiyan of Raditz. It's really good, hee. At this time, Kusuo Hatake thought of something and said slowly, Krillin, I'll tell you some things later. Although humans all have limits, the limits of one kind of people may be different from those of another. If you knew this, would you want to go to that vast universe? Your combat power bottleneck should be around 10,000. With this, it is impossible for you to defeat Vegeta. When this was said, the others had no doubts. Because they knew that as long as Kusuo Hatake said it, then 80% of it would be correct. Then he looked at Kusuo Hatake and said slowly, my combat power limit is 10,000, then it is also very powerful. In fact, as long as it reaches that step, I will be satisfied. Because Kusuo Hatake has said before, everyone has an upper limit, although they can't become stronger. But as long as you can become stronger, that's good. Hatake Kusuo smiled. Xiaolin still had his own ideas. This idea was actually very realistic, but also very helpless. Then he said slowly, then I know. In fact, I didn't say that you can't improve when you reach the limit. Maybe you don't know, but I still tell you. In the universe, some people can use the skills of the front to improve the combat effectiveness of others. So, if you know what this can represent. That is to say, your combat effectiveness can break through that realm. That is about 30,000. At this time, Xiaolin was already shocked. As long as he went to the universe, his strength could reach 30,000. What is this concept? He now knows the power of King Ken. As long as he uses King Ken, his strength can reach a terrifying level. Chapter 487. Of course, some things cannot be said that way. Although this combat power is very impressive, knowing one's own limits is actually a very helpless thing. Then he said, Hatake Kusuo, I really appreciate your suggestion, but I believe that I can surpass my limits through my own efforts. At that time, I will definitely be able to do what Goku did, and the Earth will be protected by our Earth in the future. Everyone also said in a voice, we think so too. Hatake Kusuo did not say anything more. Since this was their decision, he had no reason to stop them. Then he looked at Sun Wukong. Then Krillin, Tenjohan, I know about this matter, and I will respect you. Then you should practice well, I will watch you become stronger. Also, you must live well, don't force yourself. We know. At this time, these people already knew roughly what path they would take in the future. No one said anything. Okay, if it's like this today, then we'll go back first. Hatake Kusuo looked at Bulma, but found that Bulma was gone. At this time, Bulma came back in a plane, and then looked at Hatake Kusuo and said slowly. Hatake Kusuo, I have a lot of things to do in the company next. And I'm telling you now. I really have no other choice now. In other words, there is no way to go to that universe with you. Hatake Kusuo was speechless, so he wanted to let more people go to the universe to take a look, but when they arrived, there were still only Goku, Krillin, and Hatake Kusuo. As for Son Gohan, it is still unclear whether he can practice martial arts. Because this era has its own knowledge, in fact, there is no impression of whether Gohan practices martial arts or not. The Earth has its own protection, how could it be restricted by the enemies that appear? That is simply impossible. But he still needs Gohan. Because Gohan can really make himself stronger. 0 Please flowers as long as there is in fact, Kusuo Hatake is also clear about this point. Let Gohan live the life he wants. Hitaki Kusuo said to Goku after thinking it through. Goku, I have actually thought about this for a long time. If that's the case, then I won't force your Gohan. Let him live according to his own wishes. 0. Goku was very surprised by Kusuo Hitaki's words, because Kusuo Hitaki had always wanted Gohan before, but now he suddenly didn't want him. It's not clear what he was thinking. But it is certain that Kusuo Hitaki seems to have given up something. As long as he works hard, then the next thing will be left to him. His son must be different from himself. Thinking of this, Goku already understood what Kusuo Hitaki said to him. Then he said slowly, Hitaki Kusuo, I understand. Thank you for considering lunch. The next step is our space journey, right? Chapter 488. Hitaki Kusuo can now basically confirm that there are only 3 of them going to the universe. Then such a life in the universe is inevitably boring, but even so, they have to practice well. In the original history, Vegeta is not so easy to defeat. Even the current Goku can hardly defeat Vegeta easily, let alone Krillin and the others. Then he said slowly, if this is the case, then it's just the 3 of us. Although it's a bit lonely, we can leave and set off. At this time, Bulma took out a big box and said slowly, although I'm not going, you definitely need these things, so I'll give them to you. Of course, I know I can't help you with some things, but I can still help with this little thing. Hitaki Kusuo asked slowly, Bulma, what on earth is this? We are already prepared, do we need to prepare anything else? I'm really curious. At this time, Bulma said slowly. In fact, since you asked, I should tell you in detail. Although you are ready to play, you haven't prepared any sundries at all. And as for this battle instrument, I really don't understand those rare parts. So, just let Shenlong copy a lot. Take it. Hitaki Kusuo can actually see the combat power himself, so it's not necessary at all. And Sun Wukong and Piccolo can judge how powerful a person is by their own combat power and the enemy's aura. So there is no need for that thing. And that is just the most powerful combat instrument. Generally speaking, the instrument will explode when it reaches 22,000. But since it was prepared by Bulma, he didn't want to say anything more. All this was destined, and he would appear very dull if he said anything. Then he said slowly, then I know what you are going to do next. 0. Aren't you not going to the universe? Then what is in your box? Bulma seemed to remember something and said slowly, forget that you are an alien. This is called a capsule, which can compress space. There are water, food, houses, cars, clothes, and many other things in it. After all, our family does this, and my things are your things. These are what I was going to take, but now, I'll give them to you. And there are 2 small spaceships in this capsule to prevent you from encountering any difficulties. Hitaki Kusuo looked at Bulma and said happily. You are really good at this. I almost forgot that there is such a thing. If you don't remind me, Goku might starve to death. Because Piccolo doesn't need to eat at all, and I can't feel hungry in this world, that is to say, there is only one problem. That is, Goku is a Saiyan and needs to eat, although I am also a Saiyan. Chapter 489. But after all, he is not a genuine Saiyan. Goku, let's go. Since this is the case, they are all unwilling to leave here, so let's set off. Goku looked at Krillin and said slowly. If that's the case, I can understand your feelings, but I think as long as you work hard, you can become strong no matter where you go. But now it seems that it's not like that. You must know something. I can't reach my current level even if I practice with King Kai. This is inevitable. King Kai nodded and said, although I don't want to admit it, Hitaki Kusuo is a very powerful teacher. It only took him 1 second to learn King Kaken. And I was shocked at the time, but now thinking back, it seems to be just like that. There are some things I don't understand, and I don't need to understand. If you just want to become stronger, then it's better to go to the universe. But I also know what you are thinking. If you keep following Goku, your pace will always be 1 step slower. So I won't say anything more. Since you want to stay here, I will teach you the King of King's Fist if you wait for you to complete my special training. The group nodded. Goku said slowly. Then Krillin, Tenjohan, Jiaozi and Yincha, I look forward to seeing you in a year. Bye. Then he left King Kai. Of course, Bulma had already left at this time, and the gods, Popo and Piccolo Gohan were there. Seeing Sun Wukong coming, he said slowly, since they didn't come on their behalf, they probably don't want to practice with you. As for Gohan, I went to persuade Chi-Chi, but Chi-Chi said that this year, after that, Gohan must study hard. And Gohan agreed. Hitaki Kusuo was really confused. Why would the gods do such a thing, and how could Chi-Chi agree to let Gohan come out to practice with them? Hitaki Kusuo had prepared his mind early, and he no longer thought that Gohan could go to the universe with them to train. The gods seemed to see that. Hitaki Kusuo said slowly, you don't have to worry about this. I have already told Chi-Chi that if you become the most powerful person in the world, then as a reward, I will give Chi-Chi endless money. This is also a little gratitude from me, the god, to you humans. Hitaki Kusuo almost laughed. It turned out to be like this. The gods really are. Now they have given themselves such a big gift. Then he has to learn Son Gohan's power of anger and the mysterious form of power. Although it is a little different from the orthodox Saiyan voice change, if it has come to this point, then there is no turning back. But when you think about it, Goku's family is really poor. Goku used to practice outside, and Chi-Chi was the only one at home. So why not use the Dragon Ball to make a wish to make yourself rich? After all, Chi-Chi and Goku are kind people. Chapter 490. It was at this time that Kusuo Hitaki already knew some things, that is, at present. Now it has become 4 people going to the universe. And the first planet to go to is actually not decided by Kusuo Hitaki now. Because it is not necessary at all. At that time, let King Kai show him how many planets there are in the North Galaxy. And Namek seems to be out of King Kai's jurisdiction. That is to say, they must not go anywhere now, otherwise, it is very likely that the people of Namek will not believe them at all. And their current strength is indeed a little weak. It won't be too late to wait until they become stronger. Then he looked at Goku, Gohan, Popo and Piccolo and said, since it has been decided, we can start our journey. That is our spaceship. I have to say that Bulma's father is a genius. I really can't imagine that this thing can be so good. Then he walked into the interior of the spaceship with Gohan and others. And at this time, Gohan seemed to have never seen the world and shouted, Dad, Uncle Piccolo, this is amazing, can it really fly out of the earth? Goku touched Gohan's head and said slowly, of course it can fly out. Believe us, we will definitely come back to impress everyone. This part of the adventure, in fact, is the road for Hitaki Kusuo to become stronger, and it has officially begun. Now Kusuo Hitaki has already made a plan, that is, to quickly get rid of Frieza in a year, but at that time Goku had better be at the critical point of transforming into a Super Saiyan. Just send him to fight Frieza. When he successfully transforms into a Super Saiyan, he can also use his experience to help Vegeta quickly improve his combat power. At that time, in order to hone them, at least Frieza's brother and father should be called. Otherwise, Goku and the others will be under too little pressure. This is the first year, and his strength is at Super Saiyan 1. And then, Trunks will appear, but this is too slow. When the time comes, use his own Kamui and go directly to that world with Trunks to kill them. Let Cell come to this world in advance. And the 18th and 19th also need to be transformed, which is actually difficult for Trunks. But there is no other way. Since they are to grow quickly, this is necessary. In the next month, let Majin Buu come out of the Fox in advance. Then let's see if King Kai can let him go to the parallel world. With such a plan, Hitaki Kusuo's eyes are shining. Okay, Goku, let's go. Well, the Earth is not where we want to stay. We no Chinhao should look further ahead. That's right, Hitaki Kusuo-kun. Goodbye Earth, goodbye gods, goodbye goodbye. Everyone waved at the Earth, and in the blink of an eye, the shape of the Earth could no longer be seen. Goku shouted, what a fast spaceship, is this the technology of aliens? Gohan, we have to study hard when we go out. Ha ha ha. Everyone burst into laughter. Chapter 491. Since leaving the Earth and wandering in the universe, Gohan has to study those books by himself every day. Hitaki Kusuo was overwhelmed, but he also sighed at Chi-Chi's reality. Because if there were not so many powerful people in the real world, learning is really a very important thing. In fact, it was Goku who indirectly changed the Earth and made these people stronger. If you say this, Goku is really taking the blame. By then, he must become stronger, otherwise, everything that came here would be wasted. Now Hitaki Kusuo is clear that he can't waste time like that. Then he slowly said to Goku, Goku, do you have any plans to live or say it? Me. Goku pointed at himself and felt that Kusuo Hitaki seemed to be talking to him, because Piccolo and himself had nothing to do these days and were training in the gravity training room. I didn't know many things, such as which planet they would go to live in the future, but generally speaking, these things were arranged by Kusuo Hitaki for them, so there was no need to worry about any problems. But now, since Kusuo Hitaki asked, Goku was actually very confused. Where are they going in the future? Then he slowly said, Pico, you are training in that gravity room now, it's really tricky. It's been 3 days. Gohan, when did you start? Your current combat power is only 50. But I heard from Kusuo Hitaki that you can burst out powerful power without training, but I don't know how to control this power. Hitaki Kusuo suddenly remembered something and said slowly, Goku, I have a way to make Gohan successfully obtain that kind of power, and the room can be completely controlled. Since Gohan doesn't want to practice more, then if we do it this way, it will definitely work. Goku also scratched his head and said, Hitaki Kusuo, is there really such a method? Of course there is. Hitaki Kusuo just remembered a spell, Koto Amatsukami, which can change people's minds. Let Gohan become the kind of person who can get angry anytime and anywhere, but can control his reason. Then he said slowly, Gohan, you can become very powerful, but gravity training here actually has no great effect. And we also know that we must contact more enemies before we can do it. Of course, if we stay on the ship all the time, it will be impossible to achieve it. So that means we have to contact the planet. At this time, Kusuo Hitaki made a voice transmission gesture and said slowly, King Kai, can you hear us? Where are we now? It's Kusuo Hitaki. I can clearly see that you have just left the solar system. But the Milky Way is still very large. Do you have any goals now? Is the technology of your spaceship still very powerful? Of course, I want to ask if there are any planets around, and it would be best if there are any enemies. Luoluo Star. Chapter 492. It was not long before King Kai said such a name. In fact, Kusuo Hitaki had already felt that there was a strong aura around. Now it seems that it is completely correct, and then he said slowly, King Kai, what did you say just now? Luoluo Star, what kind of place is this? King Kai sighed and said, I guess you know so much and you also know Frieza. Because everyone can hear King Kai's voice transmission, Goku frowned slightly when he heard Frieza. I learned from Hitaki Kusuo that this Frieza is not an easy person to deal with. It feels nothing now, but if I meet him in the future, I will definitely be shocked. Now King Kai mentioned Frieza, which means that this planet is already related to Frieza. Then he slowly said, could it be that Frieza is now on that what Lolo star? How is this possible? If Frieza is there, I will definitely not let you go. You really are, what else can I say? Actually, I have heard about this matter. Frieza is the Emperor of the Milky Way. In fact, it can also be said that he is the Emperor of this universe. Although he has a brother and a father, the throne is his now. He has many people under him. I don't know his fighting ability either, because his subordinates are really there are too many, and since you know this person, you must know how powerful he is. Hitaki Kusuo frowned. He didn't know these things. Now it seems that he didn't think too much. Isn't this Frieza's subordinate a Ginyu Force? There are many, right? Now that I think about it, as the Emperor of the universe, how can there be such weak people around him? It must be that Frieza didn't summon those subordinates at that time. Otherwise, it is impossible that a Ginyu with a combat power of more than 100,000 is Frieza's subordinate with a combat power of more than 500,000. At this time, Hitaki Kusuo said slowly, "Then what are you going to say, King Kai?" "Zero, please give flowers." "Well, this Luoloaxing is being attacked by Frieza's men now. Originally, the people of this planet were simple and honest, but they were attacked by the newcomers. Because they are not very good at fighting, they are now losing ground. They are almost wiped out. If you want to train, you can go there. I feel that although the people there are very powerful, you can definitely deal with them. ... Hee. Is that the case, King Kai? I know hee. Goku, did you hear that? Although we can't contact the Saiyans in advance, we can also train with the aliens. Of course, we also know that these people are not easy to deal with. So we have to be careful. After all, there are too many powerful people in this universe. Of course Goku knows that he will not have a rival just because he is already very powerful. Because of what Hitaki Kusuo said to him, he understood that there are too many people in this world who are stronger than him. Chapter 493. Now Hitaki Kusuo is still clear that their enemies must be established first. And as for himself, although he is very powerful, no one has been his opponent for a long time. There must be many powerful races in this vast universe. It's just that other people don't know, and now he is already very powerful, but it's nothing to Super Saiyan. Jubachi then slowly said, "Then Goku, you go and ask Piccolo to come out, the first stop of our journey has come. Then the target is this Lolo planet, but we have to suppress our own energy, they can't detect the size of the combat power at all. We still have to investigate it first." It was not long before their spaceship passed through the atmosphere of the planet, and then it was the ice field area. Piccolo came out because of Goku's call, looked at Goku and said slowly, "I already know, Luoluo Star, I will defeat all the Frieza people on this planet." Because of this, Goku was very surprised and said, "You, how did you come out, and how did you know this matter, hee. Piccolo pointed to his ears, and Goku didn't understand. But Hitaki Kusuo understood it all at once, because he knew that Piccolo's ears were very good. Then he said slowly, "If this is the case, then let's get ready." It was at this time that strange sounds began to come out of the spaceship. "We have reached Luoluo planet ahead. The average temperature of this planet is about 1 degree. Please prepare your clothes." "Wow, what function is this? It's too powerful, hee. Hitaki Kusuo was also very surprised. "What kind of skill is this? It's really useful. This spaceship was modified by Bulma's father. It's really useful." Then he saw the spaceship slowly landing. At this time, Goku actually knew one thing because he just sensed a breath. And it's a very strong breath. Hitaki Kusuo reminded, "You are all in units of combat power now. There are very few ways in this universe that can control the breath like as zero. So their combat power probably won't change. We can use this to quickly record the gap between the enemy and ourselves. It's actually very useful. And this." Hitaki Kusuo took out thick clothes from the capsule given by Bulma, one for each of the 3 people. And at this time, the spaceship slowly said, "We have begun to prepare various languages on this planet. We are ready." Then he saw a light entering his ears, and of course other people also had it. In fact, Kusuo Hitaki had heard about it a long time ago. This was something that originally existed on the spacecraft. Now, I didn't expect it to be broken. Goku asked in confusion, "Kusuo Hitaki, what on earth is this? I'm really curious. This is actually nothing. With this, you can understand what you don't understand. I guess the Saiyan language is Elsosic, a translation stock is here." Chapter 494. After getting off the spaceship, 90 felt that it was very cold here. Hitaki Kusuo had not encountered such cold weather for a long time. This was the first time since crossing the world, although it seemed nothing. But some things still need to be discussed. Then he slowly said to Piccolo and Goku, 70, I have something to say to you two a long time ago. Of course, I know that you are very likely to know these things. But I still want to say something. Then he looked at the slow induction in the distance. Combat power, 13,060. Combat power, 18,000. Combat power, 23,000. I didn't expect that such a small planet would have such a powerful person. Pico and Goku were not sure what Hitaki Kusuo was talking about. After thinking about it, it was probably about the invaders on this planet. And what they were dealing with were actually invaders, and they were all the same. Goku said slowly, "If that's the case, then let's go there." Hitaki Kusuo, the fighting force you just mentioned is Frieza's subordinates on this planet. Hitaki Kusuo said slowly, "I am talking about Frieza's subordinates, but I still want to tell you something. These people are not as simple as they seem. Goku and Piccolo, your strength is 10,000. With the Kaioken, you have a fighting force of 30,000. But don't forget that your combat experience is far inferior to that of the evil man. Those people live in this kind of place every day, and they must be much stronger than you think. Of course, if you insist on going, then just ignore what I said." Pico and Goku wanted to teach those who just sensed the aura a lesson, but they said that Hitaki Kusuo was worried about them. Then he said slowly, "We should clarify these things, then Hitaki Kusuo, what should we do next? Should we wait here?" Just after getting off the plane, Hitaki Kusuo took the spaceship away with a capsule. Then the three of them really walked to this planet. "Is this the first planet we came to? It's really too cold, Goku shouted, and then looked at Hitaki Kusuo and Piccolo. There was not much reaction. Then he said puzzledly, "What's wrong with you two, why don't you react? It's really strange, but I don't care, since you two are not cold. Then there is no need for me to care about you here. Although I know some things, I still want to ask you a question. Do you really have no feeling?" Pico said slowly, "I am a demon, how can I feel cold? As for Kusuo Hitaki, how could he not have overcome this thing when he is so powerful? Didn't the god teach you that as long as you wrap your whole body with chi, you won't feel cold?" At this time, Kusuo Hitaki was speechless. He had a way to prevent himself from getting cold, but it was not necessarily so glorious. Chapter 495. At this moment, several people suddenly felt a strong air coming here. Although it was very cold here, it was also a plane. Originally, Kusuo Hitaki and Goku were planning to hide, because it was better to have less trouble than more. Although these people were definitely not their opponents, if there were more powerful people behind them, then they would be in trouble. And Kusuo Hitaki was also clear that his strength was no longer afraid of Frieza, but his real strength was only 20,000 combat power. Just like Vegeta, now that he had just left the Earth, he must be careful and subtle. Then he said slowly, "Since it is an enemy, then we don't need to hide, Goku's detector is no longer useful. The combat power of this person should be the lowest among them. There are 3 people, and this person has a combat power of 13,000, which is extremely terrifying. But to be honest, it's actually a good thing. After all, it can be used as a contact for you two for free." Then he saw a strange-looking person looking at them in the sky. Finally found it. "I didn't expect that there are still such powerful people on this planet, but it doesn't seem like it." Then he looked at the detector. The green man has a combat power of 8,000. The one who looks like a Saiyan has a combat power of 7,500, and this one is 10. Ha 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 ha, what kind of fun thing is this? But I actually met a master. These people can't be Saiyans. Then he looked at everyone and found that they didn't find the tail at all, and he was relieved immediately. In fact, the Saiyans have been completely wiped out by King Frieza. How could there be any survivors? I must have thought too much. But at this time, the 4th person was found. It was a childlike person appeared in his sight. Only 5,000 combat power. This is also very powerful. Then he slowly said to Sun Wukong and the others, "Who are you? We are attacking this planet. If you come here to train, then please go back." Hitaki Kusuo was very confused. These people were too polite. Then he said, "We are here for tourism, and we didn't expect that this place would be attacked by you. Then we will leave now." But the man smiled and said, "Tell the truth, what are you here for? Don't think I don't know. I can feel it now, you are here to trouble me, right? Although you are really powerful, you are not my opponent. Nuo Qianzhao, then let's put it this way, if you join Frieza's army, we will be friends. Otherwise, you don't have to leave today." This is already our territory. How can you come here whenever you want? Pico didn't say anything at first, but when he heard that the man in front of him was so arrogant, he couldn't stand it anymore, so he said slowly. Who are you? I'm leaving. Chapter 496. You dare to stop me? Really? I'm going to teach him a lesson, Hitaki Kusuo. I'm going to let him know what it means to be ignorant. It was at this time that Piccolo suddenly exploded. And now Piccolo probably has a combat power of 10,000, but if you add his own unique skills, then the combat power can definitely reach more than 13,000. The man in front of him only has a combat power of 12,000 and dares to shout. This is not something Piccolo can tolerate. Then he looked at the man and said slowly, with such combat power, you dare to shout at me? I think you are really tired of living. The man looked at Piccolo as if he really heard something funny. Did your brain get hit? Do you really not know my strength? I really laugh at you now. It seems that you really don't know what the sky is high and the earth is thick. So today I will teach you what society means by its ruthlessness, ha 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 ha. That was the moment when the man on the other side started to explode, and Goku and Hitaki Kusuo knew that he was Piccolo's enemy. There was no need for them to fight again. It would be a very embarrassing thing for others to intervene in a fight between enemies of enemies. Now it seems that they already know some things. This is Piccolo's enemy. If they take action, it means they look down on Piccolo. This is a taboo in this world. It means that many people will fight one person only when they are helpless, but it is basically impossible to fight again at that time. Pico smiled. Now he can judge a person's true fighting power through his chi. The fighting power of the alien in front of him is about 12,000, while his own strength is 10,000. There is still a little gap, but he still has the Kaioken, which means that he can crush his opponent. Then he smiled and said, you are really unlucky. My first enemy is you, but it is your honor to die at my hands. The man no longer paid attention to Piccolo. Even now, their combat power was only a few thousand. But if the other party had two people who joined forces to deal with him, he would not be able to deal with it anyway. Then he gathered his energy. Piccolo sensed it again. This was his real combat power. 14,000 combat power in the explosive state. This is already considered a very powerful person. Now it seems that the people on this planet are probably not powerful. It is much more powerful than the combat power of the Earth. Because the people who invaded the Earth at the beginning only had a combat power of a few thousand. Of course, Vegeta's words were an accident. Piccolo hid his energy first, and then suddenly exploded. Because the other party underestimated the enemy, he punched the man in the face. Is it just this level? Really? I thought you were so powerful. Faced with Piccolo's ruthless ridicule, the man was dumbfounded. What on earth did you do? Why did you suddenly become so powerful? Wei Wei was really panicking now. This person really only had 8,000 combat power, although it was already very powerful. Chapter 497. But the speed just now was not the combat power that could be possessed by that level. How could this person's combat power be so low? It must have been a machine failure just now. Then he said in disbelief. You actually, no, what on earth did you do? How is this possible? How could you be my opponent? This must be fake tilde, I'm going to kill you. Vic smiled and then began to explode. Look at how much combat power I have, haha. It was at this moment that the man looked at the combat power instrument. Then he screamed, 8,000, 8,500, 9,000, 10,000. How is it possible? You actually have 10,000. No, it's still rising. 12,000. Yes, Piccolo's normal strength at this time is 10,000, and his fighting power has reached 12,000 in the second explosion state. This is something that even Hitaki Kusuo doesn't know. With such fighting power plus his own tricks, it is still easy to defeat the person in front of him without opening the Kaioken. At this time, the person didn't know what to say. The person in front of him is really powerful. Although my fighting power is relatively high, this person can already threaten me. However, he pretended to be calm and said, even if you have 12,000 combat power, what can you do? You are not my opponent. I have 14,000 combat power. My teammates have 18,000 combat power, and another has 24,000 combat power. If you dare here. After saying that, Piccolo rushed over quickly, and then kicked the man's body. The man didn't notice Piccolo at all. Then his body was uncontrollably shot out. The mountain behind was directly smashed by the man's body. It was at this time that Piccolo didn't let go. Then he gathered his energy on his body. Slowly said, "Magic flash." For a moment, a huge beam of light flew directly towards the man. The man had already felt the danger of this ability. What kind of combat power is already 18,000? Damn it, they are a nation that can freely control combat power, no wonder they are so arrogant. Zero, please give me flowers. However, if this is the case, then we can only escape first. When my companions come, I will definitely be able to kill all of them. Then he blew up a mountain next to Piccolo. Run away. The laughter also echoed in this space. Zero. Ha ha ha, even if I can't beat you, so what? I'm leaving safely now. When my companions come, it will be your doomsday. But Piccolo couldn't let this person escape, and then he said fiercely. There's no way you can run away, the magic piercing cannon. Boom! There was a loud noise in the sky, and the man at this time had turned into powder. Hitaki Kusuo smiled and then slowly said, as expected of Piccolo, he kills people so easily. Goku, how do you feel about this battle? Wow, Piccolo is really powerful. I don't think I can defeat Piccolo now. And our secret training is really good. Chapter 498. The secret training that Goku mentioned is naturally the training they had in the time chamber. Even Hitaki Kusuo didn't know how much they had learned in the time chamber. After all, they are Namekians, and they are already stronger than the Saiyans. However, the Saiyans focus on growth. If that's the case, Piccolo should be stronger than Goku now. Why was Goku so powerful in the past? Because Goku's opportunity was so good. For ordinary people, they can't encounter such a good thing at all. But because of me, Goku and Piccolo are almost the same. Gohan seemed to know his father and said, Uncle Piccolo is so powerful, but I also want to become stronger now. I wonder if Uncle Hitaki Kusuo has any ideas. Hitaki Kusuo suddenly thought of something and said. Then we can start now. Pico, let the next two people be handed over to the father and son. After all, they haven't fought each other yet. Pico didn't care. Now Hitaki Kusuo was by his side, so he must have made some arrangements. All he had to do was obey. Then he nodded. When Goku heard that he was going to fight, he said excitedly, Thank you Piccolo and Hitaki Kusuo for letting us know so much. What a powerful guy. My body is already excited now. But Gohan heard that he was going to fight, so he pulled his father's hand and said slowly. Dad, I'm scared. I only have 1,000 combat power now. How can I be their opponent? It was at this time that Goku touched Gohan's head and said. Don't you believe what Hitaki Kusuo said? I know you are very powerful. Your aura is something I have never seen before. But since Hitaki Kusuo said he can help you control him, then you just need to control it well. Gohan nodded. Hitaki Kusuo said at this time, let's leave here quickly. They have instruments that know where we are. Although we are not afraid, we are here to gain experience after all. So, first, we develop the power for Gohan. Let's talk about it later. Everyone nodded and left without saying anything. Because he held his breath, it aroused the doubts of the other two people. Kakabu and Bubuka were very confused now, because the combat value of that person had disappeared. How is it possible? That person has a combat power of 14,000. People with high combat power on this planet have been eliminated by us. How could there be another person? Bubuka said to Kakabu. Kakabu smiled slowly. What's the matter? The combat power of that person just now was close to 20,000. It's not a problem to beat that person. How can it be 20,000 combat power? It seems that we have met an opponent. Bubuka smiled and said, You haven't met an opponent for a long time. I'll leave it to you this time, hehe. Of course, although 20,000 combat power is still very powerful, I also have 20,000 combat power. Chapter 499. So don't worry about these people. If it doesn't work, there is still Bubuka for you. Of course, I am so powerful, but it has been a long time since I met an opponent. This time, we can really have a good fight. Hee. The two of them laughed. Kakabu laughed for a while and said, but their combat power suddenly disappeared. We don't know where it is. Bubuka said slowly, in fact, they also want to find us. They must have a purpose. As long as we wait here, there will be absolutely no problem. So that's the case. There are still 3 days, and this planet will be completely cleaned up, but I didn't expect that there would be a few people who can fight. Then this trip to Luoluo Star is not in vain. Goku, Piccolo and others had been suppressing their anger, and soon they saw a city. But the city was already in ruins, and Kusuo Hatake immediately saw a man being chased by 2 aliens. Mamayu really didn't know what to do now. His father said that he should escape. But where can he run to? The current problem actually explains everything. His planet is going to be destroyed, all because of the hateful Frieza, but he is so powerful that he has no way out. Unless he gets that state, then all the enemies on this planet are not his opponents. But how can he get it? And this is that he is about to die, what should he do now? From now on, there is no way back, and he can only fight hard. Then he turned around and left. The 2 people behind him saw that Mamayu was not running away and smiled slowly. Why not run, my prince? Be good and go with us to meet Bubula and Lavubula, otherwise, we will kill you here, hee. Of course, if you teach that thing, we can let you go. Goku was originally an enthusiastic person. Seeing that 2 people were chasing a wounded person, he was a little angry. These people in Frieza's army are really hateful. They really want to kill them all. I can't stand it anymore. Pico was going to stop them, but he was pulled by Hatake Kusuo, and then shook his head and said, although you are right to worry, Goku is just such a person, and don't be afraid of causing trouble. Although there are very powerful opponents in this universe, if I am here, no matter how powerful the opponent is, I will let you revive and escape. Don't worry too much about this. Pico surrendered. Then he looked at Sun Wukong and said, son, be careful. The 2 people behind you have a combat power of 8,000 each and the injured person has a combat power of 15,000. But he may be seriously injured, and his energy is less than half. Wukong nodded and said, no problem, I can deal with these people now, so I don't need to use Kaioken at the beginning. Chapter 500. This is true. Now Goku's single combat power is as high as 7,500. Then the real combat power is probably more than 10,000, which means that Goku actually has a combat power similar to Piccolo. This actually means that there are still many people like this. Then he said slowly, since we have already said it, we can definitely do it. I can still handle just 2 people like this by myself. Although some things are difficult for me. But you know that I can teach this person who doesn't know what's in front of me a lesson. So you can rest assured about this matter. Of course you know that some things are not what we think. Although this person is powerful, I, Sun Wukong, am definitely not a person who exaggerates. After being told this, Kusuo Hatake can now understand what kind of mood Sun Wukong is in. In fact, there are many times when Kusuo Hatake has long wanted to know what Sun Wukong is thinking about all day. Now it seems that although it is not clear what he is thinking about, it must be fighting and practicing. Sun Wukong is indeed born to be a fighter. Although we don't really believe it, from the current situation. He is a person who likes fighting very much. Endless fighting can make him experience fun. Although this kind of fun is not very good, sometimes, this kind of fun is still very tasteful. Then he slowly said, then Goku, this matter is your decision. Since you have decided, then don't look back. I know, Kusuo Hatake. With his instructions, Goku already knew what he should do next. Then he took his equipment and went to the battlefield. He said slowly, then Piccolo, and Hatake Kusuo, you just wait for me here, I'll be back soon. I understand, take care of yourself. Goku then flew away thinking about the anger. At this time, the 2 people knew that there seemed to be some powerful adults coming in front. Then he said to the injured Mamayu, I really didn't expect that there are such powerful people on this planet. It seems that the human has a combat power of 7,500, but we can have 2 people. Mamayu, don't fantasize about being able to come to save you, this is simply impossible, ha ha ha. Of course, if you give me that thing, then I will bypass you. Then one person shot something at Mamayu. Mamayu was already seriously injured, so he naturally couldn't avoid this kind of thing, from Nuo, and as the feeling faded. But it was clear that this should be poison. Then he smiled and said, even if I die, I can't give you that kind of thing. At this time, Sun Wukong suddenly appeared and said slowly. You two are really interesting, actually bullying a disabled person. I can't stand your atrocities at all, I want to punish you. Change.